Hey, greetings there, fellow makers. Welcome to Prop Live Q&A. I'm Bill. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus because of travel, but I'm here for your weekly prop and costume making Q&A session down in my office. And it's just me today, no guests. You're just going to have to put up with my nasally crazy pants. I'm still kind of sick voice for the next hour or so. But I just took some nasal decongestion, so hopefully that'll clear right up. I mentioned that we've been traveling and we've made some videos. Of course, that's what we do. We do everywhere. We go places and we make videos. Well, the first one you might want to check out over on the old, our second YouTube channel, Punished Props Extras. That's where we're putting a lot of our vlog type stuff. I've got Silicon Valley Comic Con where I got to go hang out with my friends at Tested, including Frank Ippolito and Norman Chan and Adam Savage. Adam did his Totoro. There's Adam and his Totoro and another Totoro. It was really fun. So put together a really short video just sort of highlighting some of the stuff I got to do while I was in Silicon Valley for Silicon Valley Comic Con. That's worth checking out. That was a number of weeks ago, though. Since then, we've been to other places, many other places, including New York City. In fact, we just got back from New York City yesterday. If you look on the main page here, we went to my favorite store ever. In fact, that's where the event was held. This is the Complete Sculptor in New York City, 90 Van Dam Street. Also, sculpt.com if you want to check out their stuff online. I recommend you head on over there. I'm like, kudos to them for getting sculpt.com. How good is that? The video we put up showcases a bunch of the materials and stuff that they use or that they sell that are fantastic for prop and costume making. I got to chat with Mark, the guy that owns the place. Super awesome guy. They got a bunch of stuff, including, look at that, they got some of my books there. All right. The event construct was a rousing success. We had lots of fun there hanging out with a bunch of our buddies, including some of the people in the chat right now, like Nerdy Views and Corlock Striker. I don't see him if he's in the chat or not, but our buddy Silent Warlock was there too, and a bunch of other new friends that we made. We got to watch some sculptors do their work. People do like prosthetic work and airbrushing and painting on people's faces. That was really cool. The event took place mostly on Saturday and Sunday, and we had a good time. Sold some books, got to hang out, did a couple panels, did a workshop, did a prop and costume making, or a foam weapon making workshop with about a dozen people. That was super, super fun. Yes, Nerdy Views in the chat says, the Complete Sculptor is a legit wonderland for makers. That is underselling it. That place is freaking amazing. So if you're in New York City, head on over there, check that out. And if you want a little bit of insight, head over to punishprops.com and watch our videos on it. That's about all I have right now for updates because we've just been on the road. I don't know if you'll be able to see this because I have the pictures on my phone, but the last 2 months have been kind of bonkers. There's, I don't know if this will show up well, but I'm going to jam it in the camera anyway. Those orange lines on my calendar there are travel. It's not focusing. But, so that was April and this is May. All those lines are travel. So we spent a lot of the last 2 months on the road doing really cool things. Not really like lounging about and taking it easy. We were doing lots of work and doing lots of cool things. Let's see. Vile Shadow in the chat says that we met Becca Noel. Yes, we did. And her boyfriend, husband person. Both of them were each on their own episode of Cosplay Melee. And they were very, very nice people. They were at Construct as well. I believe they are New York natives. So anyway, we've been on the road for a lot. We have a couple weeks off of travel. So we're going to buckle down and make some really cool prop and costume making videos for you guys coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm on the mend. I know it sounds like I'm still kind of nasally. I am, but I'm feeling a lot better. I was kind of sick for the last week or so, which made travel super fun. But I'm back now in the shop, ready to go, ready to make stuff, and ready to answer your prop and costume making questions. If you're watching live and you have a particular technique or material or tool you have a question about, or if you have a project that you're working on and you want a little bit of help getting started, then send us your question. That's at punishedprops.com/live. That's where you want to go to submit your questions. You fill out a little form, it gets sent over to our email, and then Brittany puts it in the notes and I answer it. That's how it works. So without further ado, I'm going to dive in and start answering some of your questions. First one comes in from Lumen Props. Have you thought about using simple pins in your separating PVC props to keep them from flying apart when swung? That's a really good idea. Let me show you what he's referencing. World of Warcraft, BlizzCon 2016. So they put together a super fun video. By they, I mean Blizzard. And of course I can't find it. Let's see if they just have it on their main YouTube channel. Come on, get your SEO in order, YouTube, or YouTube, jeez. There it is. All right. We don't need the audio, but basically what happened was I'm in this. They made this amazing video. It's really cool. There's Alicia. It's freaking awesome. There's Tony Swanton and Gary, our buddy Gary, in there getting beat arm wrestling. Where is it? At some point, I've skipped too far. I've gone too far. At some point, I'm in it, and my weapon broke. We'll just link to this. You guys can go watch it yourselves. There it is. Okay, so my mace was held together with just PVC pipe couplers, and as I swung, it fell apart. There's definitely something you could do to make it so that when the piece goes together, it turns and has a pin that locks into place. And that's a pretty good idea. I wish I had thought of that earlier. So good idea, Lumen Props. If I'm going to have a weapon that I might swing again, I'll definitely incorporate something like that into the next one. So good call. Thank you very much. Next one comes from Catherine Jones. Have just made my first silicone mold of a 3D printed duck. I think I made the walls too thick, so it was hard to get the duck back out again. And there's a picture. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Picture. There's a duck. There is the silicone. The light pink is the silicone. There we go. So what you might try and do, let's see if there's more question here. How thick should my walls be? You might try and do a brush on mold. So if you look on our molding and casting videos, in fact, if you go to punishedprops.com, you can go check out all of our molding and casting stuff. If you go to punishedprops.com, go to techniques, go to molding and casting. Every video we have that includes molding or casting is listed here, but also we have our whole series, our whole playlist. And if you look, we've got a video on brush on molds for helmets and masks, but you could use something like that for oh, did my mouse die? My mouse died. Come back to me, mouse. Uh-oh. Give me 1 second, everybody. My mouse has given up on life. Connection lost. One moment. We got batteries right here. There we go. Everything's better. Oh, we're good. All right, cool. So anyway, a brush on mold means you can brush on a specified thickness of silicone around the whole thing. It takes a lot longer than a dump mold like you did, but you use a lot less silicone and you'll have a much thinner wall. So anyway, brush on molds for helmets and masks. And ducks, it turns out. Let's see here. Basically, you can see Brittany brushing on a nice layer of silicone there. So anyway, brush on mold, good to go. We'll link to that video or just the how to make a mold boop thing in the oh, I'm not logged into Twitch. Weird. That should solve all of your problems. That being said, the mold you have should work just fine for getting copies of your duck. But for the next duck, brush on mold. Let me log into Twitch real quick so I can post stuff in the chat. Boop. There it goes. Oh, it has to two-factor authentication. Safety, everybody. You want to be safe with your online things. In the meantime, oh wait, here we go. Let me log in real quick. Burp, 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 burp. There we go. And how to make a mold. That's basically, I just linked it in the chat. Anyway, Gorgonzola has a question. If you don't have contact cement on hand, can I use hot glue? How durable is hot glue? And would you recommend using it? So it depends on what you're gluing. If you're talking about EVA foam, then yeah, you could use hot glue. That's how our buddy Dave over at Evil Effects does all of his foam stuff with hot glue. I believe that the base material of hot glue is vinyl or whatever. It's similar to whatever the floor mats are made out of. Yeah, hot glue should work just fine. Now, if you're using if you would normally use hot glue to glue like leather together, hot glue might not work as well. So, you know, you can obviously do some small scale tests to see how it works out. But for foam, hot glue is good. So go for it. Moving on. Thank you. That was Gorgonzola. Next one comes from Sarah. I'm about to get a new shed, and I'm planning to turn it into a foam cosplay workshop. What are the must-haves in your workshop? If you built yours all over again, what are the first things you would buy? I would have a better dust collection system, a better ventilating system for collecting like dust as you're dremeling your foam, and some sort of ventilation system to get like a fume hood or just an area that's safer to use things like contact cement in, or a really legit spray booth, like a painting booth. I would build a better spray booth, a real spray booth. I mean, my spray booth doesn't even count. It's just a fan and a window. So I would build a really, really good spray booth. You could use that area for working with like contact cement, but you could also use spray paint. You could also use your airbrush or any other thing over there. And then I would also probably get, and I should just get one, an air filter system. They're not that expensive, a couple $100. Just make sure you keep replacing the filters in them to keep the dust at a minimum, and then use a dust collection system in some way. I have one. I have a big dust collector, but it's like a downdraft table would be really good for like doing your dremeling work. You work over it, all the dust gets sucked down into it and away from your face. Those are the things. And then for me, this is kind of specific to what I do, but I would make sure all of the light bulbs in my shop were all the same color temperature. I don't know how much you guys notice it, but I notice it in all of my videos. The white balance in my camera gets confused because like that light's daylight, that light's tungsten. It's all over the place. Again, this is specific to me because I film everything I do. But having sort of the same color temperature throughout the whole shop would be a really nice treat. I think so anyway. Thank you, Sarah. Hopefully some of those things were helpful to you. Safety and lighting. Those are the things that are important to me. Andrew Stevens wants to know, what is your advice on the best paint to use on foam props? Most of the time, I end up using acrylic paints that are fairly flexible. So, and regulars in the chat will know exactly which ones I want, and that would be the Angelus paints. They're leatherworking paints. They're incredibly flexible. The thing is, the foam is flexible, so if you put a paint on there that dries perfectly rigid, when the foam flexes a little bit, that paint will crack. So Angelus leather paints are a great place to start. Most acrylic paints, not all acrylic paints, but most acrylic paints are fairly flexible, so that's a pretty good place to start. Yeah, so there you go. Just go with some acrylic paints. That'll do you. It'll do you good. Let's keep moving. Thank you, Andrew. Next one comes to us from Prop Monkey Cosplay. I recently watched a video by Kamui about priming, as well as your video about sealing EVA foam. I noticed that the quick seal seams after heat sealing, but you do it before. Does it really matter whether heat sealing is done before or after? Are there any pros or cons to doing either way? I didn't really think about it, whether I would heat seal it before or after adding the quick seal. I don't think it matters. So, I would probably I would probably do all my seam fixing or sealing and then heat seal it and then paint it. But I don't see why one way or the other would be better or worse. One thing I did notice in that video, actually, and we'll link to this in the old chat and in the show notes. Svetlana did a great job of covering kind of how they do their sealing, their favorite ways of sealing, and I believe that their favorite was Plastidip. But when she does her Plastidip, she puts on a really, really heavy coat, and it seems like that made a huge difference in the finish texture for your for their foam. Yeah, here it is. Of course, there's corgis in it because you got to have corgis in it. But yeah, they like that Plastidip quite a bit, and I will say it is super duper convenient. They tried latex as well. I know you guys know I like latex a lot. But the thing is, they didn't spray it on. The huge benefit from using latex comes from being able to spray it, or even to just be able to dunk your whole piece in a big bucket of latex, to be able to get many smooth layers of latex added to it. So just throwing in my 2 cents there. Evil Ted's in the chat. He says he does his heat sealing before he does his quick seal patching. There we go. You heard it from Evil Ted, and I trust that guy. Good question, Prop Monkey. Thank you. Let's keep moving. We don't have a ton of questions in the old doc, by the way, you guys. So if you're watching live and you have a question, throw it in there so that we have some questions to answer. If you have a burning question you've just been jonesing to throw at me, now's your chance, because we'll definitely get to it. This one comes to us from the one and only Frankenstein. Have you used rare air magnets to attach armor to clothing? What are the pros and cons? I've used rare earth magnets for many things. Never to attach it to clothing. For clothing, I'll use Velcro and snaps. It's just especially the snaps that provide a positive physical lock that work out really, really well. Real quick in the chat, I see Intruder Timmy's thrown a question. If you want to send that question to us, punishprops.com/live. That is the place to submit your questions. Anyway, rare earth magnets can work super, super well. Just do some tests. Use more than you think you need, especially if they're tiny. But those can work really well for attaching props to other pieces of props, or for attaching parts of armor to other pieces of armor. So if you have like a battery holder, you want to cover it, you can use magnets to attach the battery cover. And many other things. If you have a prop that needs to come apart for travel, you could assemble it using magnets. They're awesome. But as far as attaching armor to clothing, I'm sure you could totally do that. I've just never done that. I've actually heard too of people using, I like snaps a lot. I've used Velcro quite a bit too. Heard of people using both snaps and Velcro. Kind of the best of both worlds. If you use one snap, it'll spin. The piece could just spin. So usually I'll use two 2 snaps. All right. Thank you, Frankenstein. Next one comes to us from First Time Maker. I'm doing my first project ever, which is a red hood helmet. It's made of Pepakura, fiberglass, and Bondo. I finished the outside and I want to add light up eyes. I want to use LEDs, but how do I diffuse the light so it won't look like a spot and still see through the eyes? This is the sort of eternal question for Iron Man cosplayers. Because Iron Man has those light up eyes, but somehow you got to see out of them. Usually what I've seen people do is make the eyepiece out of a white piece of plastic, like white acrylic, and then edge light it with LEDs so that all lights up. But then they leave a tiny slit on the bottom of the eye so that they can see under it. That's usually what I've seen people do. So there's just a tiny slit on the bottom. The whole concept of making it opaque enough to light up with all that diffusion means you would make it so that you can't see out of it. There are other ways you can do it. Our buddy Steven over at Solo Roboto, he's done some interesting things with his Star-Lord eyes to try and match the way they got the eyes to look in the movie. Let me go take a peek at that. I can't remember if he's really dove into the how, but he's definitely accomplished something really cool. Just skimming through his feed real quick. There's a picture. So there's some kind of, you can see that there's some kind of grid etched into the eyes, and it's edge lit with LEDs. So that's something you might try out too, but also, you know, just if you go to the RPF, the replica prop forum, and look up Iron Man eyes, I bet someone's figured that out. Let's see here. They're looking for Tony Stark sunglasses. I don't know. You may have to dive in, but plenty of people on the RPF have made Iron Man costumes. So if you start digging through there, you might find something about eyes. Hopefully, something I just said is going to be helpful to you. So good luck. Good luck to you on that. Thank you for the question, First Time Maker. And I hope you have a lot of fun on your first helmet build. That's really cool. Let's see here. Next one comes to us from Smelms. I mistakenly sprayed glossy clear coat on my armor. Any tips for restoring the original eggshell sheen? Usually, if you're putting paint on a prop and you put on the wrong layer or the wrong type of paint, or the paint you put on reacts in a weird way and gets like a texture you don't want. Usually, the best thing to do, the most sure thing you can do, is let it dry completely, then sand it off and repaint it if you're really picky about the finish. However, if you put down a gloss coat and you want it to look more matte or more satin, you should be able to just spray a clear satin on top of that, or a clear matte on top of the gloss. I don't think you could do it the other way. If you had something with a matte finish, then spraying a gloss coat on top probably wouldn't have a similar effect. But I'm willing to bet if you just hit it with like a clear matte or gloss or satin finish, that it might turn out the way you want it. The good news is you can give that a try. If it doesn't work, again, let it all dry. I know it's a bummer. Sand it all down and then repaint it. I have repainted props before because sometimes things go sideways and it's the worst thing ever, but what are you going to do? If you want it to turn out just right, it's worth taking the time to redo it correctly. There you go, Smelms. Thank you for the question. I see people are throwing more questions our way. Thank you, guys. Let's grab another one here. This is from Under the Capes. I'm making a couple mixed medium projects. I was wondering about adhesives. What would be the best adhesive for gluing EVA to XPS insulation foam? Also, what would be the best adhesive for gluing EVA foam to upholstery foam? I'm willing to bet in both cases that hot glue is going to be your best option. Hot glue sticks to EVA. Great. And it should stick really well to XPS as well. It definitely sticks to upholstery foam. I use upholstery foam to pad my helmets, and I'll hot glue that to the inside of an EVA foam helmet, and it works awesome. So I think pretty easy answer here. Under the capes, hot glue. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, Ted agrees. Sand and repainted. I bet Ted has sanded and repainted props before. I bet he has. All right, let's grab another one. This is from Adira. I've seen the tiny computer you use to stream with, but what is it? I can't recommend it for streaming, but I'll show you what it is. Let's see here. Is this it? Yeah, the Intel Nook. N-U-C. This is it's just a tiny machine. It literally is like 6 inches squared. It's freaking tiny. We got it because it was a good, like, sort of all-in-one little doodad that we thought would work pretty well, and it does work pretty well. It's just we're always pushing the limits of how much it can handle, and especially with live streaming. So literally every time we hit live on OBS, a little thing pops up on the computer that says, "Oh my gosh, high CPU usage." So I can't totally recommend it, but it otherwise is a really great little machine. I think I got it on Amazon, and I had to also order a hard drive for it, which is this little flash memory module, and RAM for it, and an operating system. But it's okay. Yeah, Adira's looking for something to stream with, so maybe get the best one that they have, the best Nook. But I would not recommend it for streaming. The next machine we get for streaming is going to be like an overpowered monster, because I want to have like a crap load of cameras and special effects, all kinds of crazy stuff, and be able to. We stream it 720p, which is. It would be great to do more than that, but we can't. Okay, thank you, Adira, for the question. Next one comes from Michael. He says that he's wondering if liquid latex or liquid neoprene would be good to silkscreen or paint onto a lycra or neoprene swimsuit to create raised patterns on it. Can liquid latex and liquid neoprene be dyed? All right, I don't know if it's a good medium for silk screening or not. I haven't done silk screening since I believe we did it in 7th grade once. It's been a while, so I'm not sure if it's good for silk screening, but you can tint them. I didn't try. You can get the neoprene we got was dark gray, so you can't really tint it because it's so dark. But with liquid latex, at least the poly latex 60 that we use, you can tint it with acrylic paints. You can tint it any color, which is awesome, and I'm willing to bet you can do that if you get the creature cast neoprene that's white. I bet you can put tints in there, probably just like acrylic paint. Again, I haven't tried that yet though, but I bet it would work. As far as the silk screening, you'll have to do your own tests and see how that works out. All right, let's keep moving here. Thank you for the question, Michael. Next one comes to us from Matthew. And let's see, half an hour in, and the nasal decongestion doesn't seem to be working. All right. Matthew is making my first chest armor this week. Any suggestions for when you don't have a body cast or an extra set of hands for fixturing the armor pieces? You can get one. You could make a duct tape dummy. If you look on YouTube, look up. We're going to be making a duct tape dummy tutorial soon, but there are already several of them on YouTube. So if you look that up, you can find a good tutorial. You just need some duct tape, a shirt you don't care about, and a friend you trust. Medical scissors are good too for getting you out. So I recommend you look up how to make a duct tape dummy. Then make the thing. It's gonna make doing your chest armor like a million times easier. You can make it without it, but again, why fight that uphill battle? Just go ahead and make yourself a duct tape dummy. Or you can buy a pre-made chest form, like a mannequin. Look on Craigslist, look on Amazon. Maybe you'll find something that's relatively the same size as you. Thank you, Matthew, and good luck with your first chest armor. Next one comes to us from our pal Kagar. He says, for displaying props in your house, are you still using the method you showed off in the video with April? Have you changed your method? Nope, I got all my guns up on tiny little pegs behind my head here. You can kind of see, there we go. Tiny little peg right there. There should be a hunter's knife on that. Tiny little pegs on the gun there. Same thing up here. You can barely see the pegs, which is kind of cool. It looks like the guns are just kind of stuck there. So basically, I got those screws with a plastic mount thing for hanging stuff into drywall. And then I got a little PVC pipe and cut a short thing, screwed it in. There's a video. You guys can go watch the video. But yeah, it works awesome. So long as the props aren't really heavy. Some of our heavier stuff, I built a wall mount for it out of wood with like some dowels sticking out of it, like some 1/2-inch thick dowels. Because I just didn't trust that it wasn't going to fall off the wall. But for most of our props, especially any of the ones that are like made out of foam, I just pin them right into the drywall and they're just fine. Thanks for the question, Kagar. Let's keep moving here. Let's see, Kellen. Kellen wants to know, I've been thinking of sealing my first prop with urethane, but worried about losing my details. Any tips or ideas? Can I go back and drill and sand the details in? You can, but I would rather sneak up on the finish than smear a bunch of stuff over it. If you're talking about using urethane, like Uracoat, that's something that smooth on cells. That stuff is very thick and it will fill in all of your details and it's very rubbery. So manipulating it after it's cured is totally, it's a pain in the butt, let's just say. So depending, you just said urethane. I'm not sure if you mean rubber or plastic. Let's see. Corlock in the chat says, wait, Bill has stuff that isn't made out of foam? Believe it or not, I made a lot of things not out of foam before I got on the foam train. I have 3D printed props. I have resin cast props. I have all kinds of props and foam props. I like being pretty good at all those things. Nerdy Views in the chat, by the way, just linked to the displaying props on the wall video. So anyway, there you go, Kellen. I would just add thin layers of whatever you're using to seal your prop so that you don't completely fill in those details, because going back in to clean them up is going to be a pain in the butt. All right. Smelms again wants to know, do you know a way to insulate foam armor from extreme temperatures when stored in an unfinished attic? So the only thing you need to worry about is if it gets hot enough to melt, let's say, your hot glue. The EVA foam won't melt. If you have props or costumes made out of Warbler, it is totally possible for them to get hot enough to warp and distort, which would suck. The foam won't do that, but the hot glue might. As far as insulating it from heat, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. An attic seems like a really, unless that's your only choice, it doesn't seem like a great place to store things that might get too hot. Basement would be better. But again, I don't really know if it's going to be too much of a problem. So you might take part of your costume and put it up in the attic on a really hot day and see if it gets hot enough to melt pieces. And if it does, then don't put your whole costume up there. But I feel you. Finding places to store your costumes can turn into a really, can turn into a problem. We're starting to run out of room here. I think really the only solution is to just move somewhere bigger. We are chewing through the questions here. We got a handful more. If you do have one you want to throw at us, punishprops.com/live. It's a place to do it. Next one comes to us from Intruder Timmy. He says, I'm trying to make small horns out of foam. Heating it isn't going so well. I made a 2-piece pattern. Should I try a 3-piece pattern? You're going to have to make the pattern in as many pieces as you need to achieve the complex forms, if that makes any sense at all. Something else too, if it's a really small horn, then you may have to try a really thin EVA foam, because having that thicker foam can have interference problems with the rest of the pieces as you're gluing them all together. You can have some issues. But Evil Ted did a video on that, on doing horns, including some really complicated ones. But here you go. Oh, look at that guy. Look at that Evil Ted guy. So this is, you can see his pattern. So that's like a, looks like about a 1/4 inch thick or 6mm inch thick foam. If you're doing anything smaller than that, you might try using 2mm foam. That's what I would probably do. You could also just carve the foam out of your insulation foam, or carve your horns out of insulation foam. Like if they're only yay big, carve the whole thing and then just seal it with with Mod Podge, and you're good to go. It's all done. You don't have to do it out of EVA foam if it's a really tiny thing. So you could just carve it and seal it and you're good to go. Otherwise, you might just have to make your pattern into a couple more pieces, and you may have to make it out of a thinner foam. So there you go. Yeah, floor mats might be a little thick. That's why I like having that 2mm stuff. And you can get giant rolls of that at hobby stores like Joann's. Thanks for the question, Intruder Timmy. Let's grab another one here. This is from 3D Printing Gamer. Do you use a blueprint to get a base for your 3D designs in Fusion, or do you use actual photos and scale them? I've been trying to create some 3D files and have a hard time designing them at the correct size. Usually, so I have actually, let me show you here. I'll show you how I scale stuff. This is an article I put on my website. Let's see. Gun scale, perhaps? I have to search my own website to figure out where all my content is. There it is. Scaling your prop guns. So this is how I do it. This is how I figure out how big my prop guns should be. Hold on one second. There we go. So I have this picture that you can totally download. It's on the website there. And you can even see in this particular reference image, this is what I use to scale the Jade Rabbit that I used in my second Foamsmith book. And in the background, you can see that is a 3D rendering of the in-game model. I was able to download a low-res version of the in-game model. But I basically threw it into Photoshop or Inkscape or whatever, and I scaled the gun, the model, the render, the picture of the 3D model. I scaled it so that the handle looked like it was the appropriate size for my hand. And then, I guess that's it. And then I knew that image was the right size, or at least the right scale. Also, you'll notice in this picture that I have a ruler in the picture. And that way, when I throw it into Photoshop, I can scale it so that it's scaled to that ruler appropriately. And I can, at the very least, look at the image and estimate kind of how long the prop should be. And once you have one dimension, then you should be good to go. If you're looking at a side view of a gun and it's got a barrel and the barrel looks like it's like 1/2 inch wide, you know that it's 1/2 inch all the way around. So from the top view, then that barrel would be 1/2 inch wide. You can use that as a reference point to make measurements on the rest of the pieces of the gun. Then you can take those images, those rendered in-game images or whatever reference images you have, throw them into your 3D modeling software of choice to use as a background image, and then start building on top of it. That's how I do it. That's how I did the Boolean Gemini. I just took a bunch of renders, top, bottom, side, front, all that crap. Threw them into Fusion 360 and then started to build all the pieces on top of there. Fusion has a really cool tool where you can click on 2 points in your reference image and tell it that is X amount of distance long. So if you know the gun is, 40 inches long, click on the front, click on the back, and say 40 inches, and it rescales the image to be the appropriate size. Then anything you model to that image will be scaled appropriately. So there you go. That's my whole spiel on scaling guns. And hopefully it's helpful to you. We'll link, like I said, we'll link to that article I wrote in the show notes later on. Let's see. Let's grab. Oh, that one came to us from 3D Printing Gamer. Thanks for the question. Let's let's grab. I only have one more here. Maybe I'll grab some questions from the chat once I finish this. Bill Helm Creation says, have you ever heard of any other brands of liquid neoprene other than Creature Cast? I have not. I heard about Creature Cast because the guy that runs Creature Cast emailed me and said, I have a thing you might like. And he lives in Portland. And while I was down in Portland, Oregon, because it's just south of here, I visited his shop and he was like, here, have a milk jug with neoprene in it. And I was like, sweet, thank you. So that's, I've never, I think part of it is like neoprene is rarely used for that application. He was the one who did the legwork to figure out how well it could work for him, which was mask making. Let's see, liquid neoprene. Just looking it up on Amazon. Yeah, there's nothing. Nothing here. Neoprene gloves. So, yeah. I haven't heard of any other brands of liquid neoprene. So just go to Creature Cast. Actually, something I would like to point out today to you guys about Creature Cast. A comment that popped up a couple of times on my neoprene video was that it was expensive. People were kind of disappointed that it was pricey, which is kind of ironic. And I'll tell you why. And I understand why people say that too, because it comes in a gallon and it's like $75, right? So someone pointed out that they would just stick to other, what they considered more cost-effective methods like Mod Podge or Plastidip. So it's like $75 for a gallon of Creature Cast. That's 128 ounces. And if you do the math, it's like 60 cents an ounce, right? That's basically the cost of that material. Mod Podge is closer to 75 cents an ounce, which means Mod Podge is actually more expensive than the neoprene. The only catch is that you got to buy a gallon of the stuff. Now, a gallon of neoprene will last you a good long time, and if you're looking to save some money, then I recommend and I've done this before, go in with a friend to buy your gallon and then split it up in 2 jugs, and then you only have to pay half that price and everyone gets some neoprene. We did that with our Poly Latex 60. A buddy of mine and I bought 5 gallons. We got a huge bucket of it. It was like $200. So we split it. He bought it. I threw him $100, and then we split it up half and half. And a little bit goes a really, really long way. So that's that $100 I spent on liquid latex. I used to seal. So far, I've used it for 2 different costumes and a giant axe and a handful of other props. No, 4 costumes. Brittany did 2 costumes. I did 2 costumes. Brittany did 2 costumes and a handful of weapons. So 4 costumes and a bunch of weapons for $100 worth of liquid latex, and we still have some left over. So just some options for you guys out there, especially if you're looking for a more cost-effective way to do things. Just do the math, because for example, Plastidip is almost $1 an ounce, and that's at 11 ounces in a spray can. You don't actually get 11 ounces worth of material, so it's even more. It's closer to like $1 an ounce for that stuff. So the neoprene's actually half the price of the spray can of Plastidip. So just some things to think about. Oh, and another thing about the neoprene, Mark, the guy that runs Creature Cast, sent me more of the thickener. So I'm probably going to do a follow-up. I want to try and spray it at a higher viscosity, see how that turns out. So anyway, this has been the Neoprene Minute with Bill. Thank you guys for following along. Let's see here. That is the last of the questions that we have in the notes. If you guys are in the chat and you have a couple of quick questions, hit me up at Punish Props in the chat with your quick little question there, and I will answer it because we have about 10 minutes left here. Coral X Striker is curious for the Criticon. What type of air compressor do you need for that? Any small air compressor will do. You only have to go up to like 25 psi on it. An airbrush compressor might be a little weak for that. But I just got like a little pancake compressor from the hardware store. Should do you just fine. Like a 2-gallon compressor should work just fine. I've had a couple of those things. They've been awesome. Let's see. Intruder Timmy says, so neoprene is spelled the way it sounds. N-E-O, let's see, N-E-O-P-R-E-N-E? Yeah, N-E-O-P-R-E-N-E. Neoprene. I'll drop a link in the chat to the Wikipedia article. There we go. Yes, and the website is Creature Cast Rubber. That's where they sell the stuff. Money Man is curious where I got my hat. I had a gift certificate. No, someone bought me a hat. I didn't like it, so I brought it back to where they got it. Brittany might remember. I don't remember what the store was. It was there's a mall. I want to say like JCPenney or Nordstrom maybe. I don't remember. There was a store locally, and I brought the hat I got as a gift. And I traded it for this one. And I like this one. Maybe Brittany remembers where. Hey, Patch is here. Hey, Patch. Nordstrom. It was Nordstrom. There we go. Oh, it was too small. That's right. It was too small for my giant head. So this thing is whatever they call their extra large. And then this is from the Gorham Brothers, which I have several of their hats. And they have lots of awesome hats. So there you go. Yes, it was too small. All right. Any more questions? Throw them in the chat. Tag @PunishProps in there, and I'll see it pop up, and I'll answer it for you. Let's see. Ionoleth says, can I make you some more sub badges? Talk to Brittany about that. We'll figure those things off. Figure those things out offline. But I'm not committing to anything. As the nasal decongestant kicks in and I get all loopy. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Patch. Here for the last 10 minutes. Now I'm just reading about neoprene. It's a family of synthetic rubbers that are produced by polymerization of chloroprene. Vile Shadow says, would you ever consider coming to the UK for a convention? I've been to the UK for a convention. I went to London Super Comic Con a couple of years ago, and it was super fun. If I get invited, then yeah, that's the main way that we get to go places. And I'll just give you a quick look at how to do that. The main thing is you got to talk to the people that run the conventions, the people who are in charge of hiring talent to go to their cons. If you go to punishprops.com and click on convention appearances, not only will you see the conventions where we will be appearing, but you can see that there is a form where people can submit some information about their event. So send the people who do their conventions, send them to this page, and they can get a hold of me, and we can figure something out. All right. But I would love to go back to the UK. Let's see here. Kagar wants to know, how many 3D printers are you up to now? Right now we have 4 of them. We have the Sigma right here. We have the Lulzbot Mini, which is set up to do flexible material. We'll be starting to crank those videos out here pretty soon. We have the Ultimaker 2 Plus Extended, and we have the Dremel Idea Builder. And they're all awesome. They're all really cool. They each have like kind of a thing that they do really well. Like this thing has 2 extruders. That thing is got set up for rubber. The Ultimaker is just a really solid machine. And the Dremel is also a really solid machine. But I can put 2 different materials in them and do all that. Monkey Paw says, if Evil Ted is the Bob Ross, the Bob Ross of foam, is Bill the Mr. Rogers or Bill Nye? I like Bill Nye because I like that song and the way it chants. Bill, 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 Bill. Let's see here. Let's grab another one. Mashed Taters says, have you ever used epoxamite? Any suggestions? I have used epoxamite. I've used epoxycoat and epoxamite for making, come on, Bill, you got this. For making mold jackets. If you look up our bleach hollow mask video. I believe that's what we used. I'm going to check right now. Hollow mask. And there it is. Let's go on a journey together. This mask thing. That's one mold jacket. I think I skipped. Keep it going. There's the mold jacket, that gray stuff. So the gray is... Oh. Nope, not far enough. Keep going back, Bill. There it is. The gray is epoxy coat. Just sort of, there it is. That's epoxy coat that we use to kind of put down that print layer, that print coat. And then we went over that with fiberglass cloth. And then we went over that with epoxamite. Epoxamite is like they're laminating epoxy for doing fiberglass type work. And it worked awesome. So, yes, we've used it before. It's really great for things like mold jackets. That's the only thing I've used it for, but it worked really well for that. So, there you go. If you have any more questions about that, go talk to the folks at Smooth On. They make the stuff, and they'd be happy to help you out. Kellen says, I had to step out for a bit. Did you happen to answer my question about sealing with polyurethane? Yes, I did. Snow Gum Armory. There we go. Will you ever make an armor set for the cats? The cats really don't like to wear things. Every time we try to put like a helmet or something on them, they're not into it. So probably not. Unfortunately, it's not been for lack of trying. Hey Patch wants to know if you can paint the flexible 3D printed stuff. Would your latex work? I'm going to have to do a bunch of tests with that. I haven't tried painting the Ninja Flex yet. I know Bindi Smalls was able to paint her... I did a video. Probably. Bindi Smalls. Probably answered it in that video, but I'll just drop this link in the chat, and I believe she said she was able to paint it. So I will ask her before I do anything, but I'll also try some stuff out myself, including, like you said, trying to put latex on it. We'll see what happens. That's what we do. We make things, and then we try stuff on it, and we see what happens. I did a video, Bill. Yes, that is accurate. Let's see. So yes, Corlac Striker says no battle Buddha cat. I would love to have a battle Buddha cat, but he is not for it. Considering that cat has access to me while I sleep, I do not want to piss him off. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Going Ape Costume says I have many cat hairs in my props. So do I. Funny story. I cracked open a brand new gallon of rubber, of silicone, and it's white. Just pure white. I cracked it open, and as I did, it was this perfect white field of liquid rubber, and then instantly, whoo, cat hair. Cat hair plugged itself right in there. Now, our cats can't get in the shop. They can't come down here. You have to go outside and come back inside to get into the shop. They have never been down here, but their fur gets everywhere. All right, cool. I think that's where we're going to end it. We'll end it with the cats. If you want to see a video with more of the cats, go watch Brittany's Star Wars costume making video, because the cats are heavily featured in that one. That's it for this week's Prop Live Q&A. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Our wonderful prop tarts in the chat down here. Hold on one second. Excuse me. We'll have another episode next week, and for the foreseeable future, we'll be doing the old Prop Live thing, doing the Q&A thing. Like I said, we are back in the saddle. We're back from a whole bunch of different traveling things that we did, and we'll be here for a while, at least for the next few weeks. So look forward to many more of these episodes and many more prop and costume making videos coming at your faces. I'm Bill. I'm all done. I think it's time to go fire up the grill and have some dinner. But I will see you all later on the next episode, Prop Live Q&A.